All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Spellbreakers podcast. Today, we have an awesome, legendary guest, a guy I've been following for, over a decade now. A guy who needs no introduction, but we will give one out of respect. The legendary Jeff Berwick of Dollar Vigilante, CryptoVigilante.com. He's a formerly Canadian, and he's an entrepreneur, anarcho-capitalist, thought leader, cultural critic, and I would classify Jeff as a man of the Enlightenment. He's done a lot of great work, and even back to 2010 has been breaking a lot of spells. I watch a lot of his walk and talks, and I wanted to also dedicate this episode to Lucy, his former dog, who gave joy to millions and millions of people. Yeah, sorry about your loss there, Jeff. And but yeah, welcome to the podcast, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Sounds kind of weird that you say you've been following me for 10 years, but I guess in this context, it's okay, as long as you're not CIA, which I don't think you are. And as I mentioned to you, I get quite a few messages and something about I saw Spellbreakers, and you're like, you want to come on my show? I'm like, Spellbreakers? That sounds like my kind of show. So I checked out a little bit of your James Corbett interview, which was awesome. People should check it out. Actually, I want to make sure we put your thing on our Vigilante.tv. Yeah, I'm here now. You manifested me.
Dude, yeah, speaking of manifestation, I want to get into that. I really appreciate the direction you've gone with your message, right? And so one thing for my podcast, I talk about the post-truther movement, where it's those of us who know that, okay, these guys are evil, they want to kill us, everything's bad, but instead of just trauma bonding online, right, we're actually posing solutions, right? And we're actually trying to create a new world, a new way of living, a new way of life. And so I really appreciate the work you're doing there. And yeah, I want to get into a lot of stuff today, but maybe just for the people who are watching who don't know, could you just quickly get us into your background? I know even back in the early 2010, you were, kind of breaking spells. So maybe you could just high level walk us through your journey there. And I know you actually grew up in Edmonton, right? That's only a few hours away from where I am now. So yeah, maybe you could, fill us in on your background, man.
Sure, yeah, I call it Deadminton, but I still follow the Oilers. That was a good game the other night. But yeah, so I grew up in Canada my whole life, my whole childhood, until I was about 21. When I was younger, I kind of looked at the world and I thought, this is totally screwed up. What's going on here? Why are people blowing each other up? Why is there theft rampant everywhere, including taxation? Which people are like, well, that's just a part of life. No, it isn't. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how long have you been under these spells? But I actually originally looked into going into politics, if you can believe it, when I was 14. So you can kind of excuse me. I was a little naive. But even then, for about a year into it, I was like, well, this isn't the solution. I can't force everyone to change. But I couldn't figure out what the solution was. So I thought I'll just go on with my life. I'm a young guy. I have interests like the internet, computers, and the internet was soon about to come out after that. So I didn't know that, but it did. And so I just got into this whole thing with internet. I had the top financial website there in Canada called stockhouse.com in the 1990s. It went to like a $200 million market cap, which was a lot of money back then. Now it's like nothing compared to like just with the inflation. That's really how it is. But back then it'd be like $2 billion today. And and then the tech bubble collapsed and it went to like almost zero. And I had to salvage it and lay almost everyone off and sell it for almost nothing. And then I thought, well, that was interesting. And I started reading at that point. I read The Creature from Jekyll Island and I was like, oh, that's why these bubbles happen. And I thought, well, I have nothing to do at the moment. I just sold my company. Why don't I explore the world and figure out what's really going on? Because I could just tell when my whole life, I was like, they're not giving us all the information here, not even close. I had no idea how bad it was, but I knew I wasn't getting all the information on how the world works from CBC, the Criminal Broadcasting Brainwashing Corporation in Canada. So I thought, what's the way? I like to always do something quite extreme. At least people think it's extreme. I don't even consider it that extreme, but I don't. When I was younger, my only thing was when I thought about my life is don't be boring. So, so I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? And I thought, why don't I buy a sailboat and try to sail around the world? I have no idea how to sail. I took like one lesson, and then I tried to sail around the world, and I got as far as El Salvador and sank my boat. And then I just thought, well, I'm like totally free now. I don't even have material possessions. Everything I owned was just my shirts and my shorts and, just credit cards and stuff like that. So um, it was actually the most amazing feeling I'd ever felt in my life, because I walk out of this marina where some local people had just saved me, even though the El Salvadorian Navy said they saved me, but the El Salvadorian Navy doesn't even have boats, and they didn't come and save me, even though they came and took a photo with me, which is hilarious. But when I walked out of there, I was like, this is the most amazing feeling I've ever felt in my life. Do I walk left? Do I walk right? Everything is just completely spontaneous at this point. I have nowhere to be, nowhere to go. I don't have anything. So I came up with the idea to buy a small backpack, not even one of those big backpacker backpacks, and just said to myself, I don't want to ever have more than what fits in this backpack for at least, and I had in my mind like 5 years, something like that. And I just started going with the flow, and I ended up going to about 100 different countries. So many of them so randomly, just going to the airport, asking what their next flight was. It was an incredible time period where I was living completely spontaneously, and so many amazing things happened. I ended up in a Jackie Chan, like producing a Jackie Chan movie in China and Hong Kong. I ended up doing all kinds of crazy things because I was just going with the flow. Whatever's happening, I just went with it. So then I actually got pretty tired of that sort of lifestyle after a while, just living in basically hotels for 5 years all over the world. And I thought, I gotta settle down at least for a couple of years, just be in one place for at least a couple of years. So I thought, well, I've been to 100 different countries. Where should I go? And I looked at them all. And I wanted to do something that wasn't boring. So I kept looking at Mexico. I'm like, Mexico, everyone knows Mexico. It's a great place. And it's so close to Canada. Like, oh, what a big move I made. I went to Mexico, right? And I was like, well, I like Thailand, but I had a crazy Thai girlfriend who was trying to kill me. So I actually had to escape from there. There was a few other places I liked. And actually, most places I had some things I really liked about it. Like just off the top of my head, Romania was amazing and just all these places. But I thought, the one place that really just was like so in line with me, it was like everything was perfect. The entire time I was always there. I loved everything about it, was Mexico. And so I said, okay, well, let's go to Mexico then. And then I thought, well, where should I go? And I thought, well, I've been to numerous places in Mexico, but the one place that just like really just, as soon as I arrived, I was like, this is my place, was Acapulco. So I came here. Then quickly soon after, I got a girlfriend who turned into my wife, who's still my wife, and met my daughter when she was 3 years old. And that was like mind blowing. And then I thought, well, I got to get back to work. I'd been spending whatever money I had just traveling around and just doing spontaneous things. So I thought, well, what am I going to do now? So I thought, well, I should start a financial newsletter to tell people how this all works, because it's all basically not how they think it works. It's mostly a scam. The whole central banking, fiat currencies, how the banks work, how even the stock market works in some ways is quite a bit of a scam. So I then decided to start the Dollar Vigilante with a guy who I thought, and still do think, is one of the top Austrian economics minds in the world. And I started that in 2010. And then I was like, sorry if I'm going too long here, but I'm almost done. You asked me to explain my life.
All good, man. All good. Take your time.
Like, you can't just give me 2 minutes to explain my entire life. But I'm almost done. So then I was like, I got super into libertarianism, anarcho-capitalism, Austrian economics, and I thought, man, no one knows anything about this, and I was starting to get it in my head. I'm like, this is the answer I've been looking for my whole life. If everyone understood that the problem is mostly the government and also their own mind, that's the other thing. There's basically two things, and actually, if they fix their own mind, there won't be government. But at the time, I didn't know the mind part as well, so I was like, I got to spread this anarchist thought, and no one else was. Hardly anyone knew anything about it, and I wanted to get people out there like James Corbett. He was one of my first guests. Larkin Rose, so many amazing people, and I'm like, how do people not know these people? So I started a podcast called Anarchast, which then led to everyone saying you should have an event, and I said, I don't think that's crazy. It's not like I'm going to start an anarchist event in Acapulco, Mexico, which normies think is the third most dangerous city in the world. It's not, but that's what they think. I was like, there's no way this is going to work. But being an entrepreneur, I just thought, well, let's try it. So we did. And now we're going on our 11th year next year. And then along the way, and I think this is the part that you wanted me to get to, was that I'm figuring things out. Okay, Austrian economy, yeah, the government's the problem, the central banks are the problem. And I'm doing my thing and I'm doing okay because I got into Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff very early. I recommended it at like $3. I didn't buy any then because I'm not very smart, but I knew about these things early, so I was doing okay. And I started to realize that, I'm doing well. Like I have lots of money to do whatever I need to do. I have a beautiful family, but I wasn't happy at all. And I'd been drinking a lot the whole way through all this story, by the way. like not every day, but like, every weekend and, go for a business meeting, 4 or 5 drinks at least. So this has been going on for like 20 years and it started to get just worse and worse for me with the alcohol. And I was like very depressed, which alcohol is a depressant. It shouldn't be that surprising. But so I was like actually getting pretty desperate because that was actually the second time I had done fairly well. The first time was with my internet company. The second time was with Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. And both times I look back and I was like, neither times I had lots of money was I really happy at all. And that's what society kind of tells people is, oh, if you get lots of money, you're going to be happy. I tried it twice and it didn't make me happy. Actually, I was super depressed the second time. So I had to basically, it came down to, I could continue how I was going and basically be dead within a few years because I was just drinking tons, smoking tons, just very unhealthy. Or I could fix myself. And I looked at my life, I looked at my family, and I was like, they're so beautiful. I don't want to just leave them. I want to like see if I can become like someone like just, a good father, a good husband, all these kinds of things. But I was really bad. Like, you could almost call it suicidal, even though I never thought of putting a gun to my head, but it was like pretty much at that point. And I thought, well, what's the most extreme thing I could do? That's, again, what I always think. And I looked up and ayahuasca sort of started popping up. And I always pay attention when things pop up, including things like the spell breakers, right? So I see, oh, interesting. I follow it, right? I'm kind of like a moth. So I did ayahuasca and actually had the most incredible epiphany. It was super hard. It was one of the hardest things I ever did. And it got me out of my depression long enough to start, doing some things, getting healthier, starting meditating a little bit. But it didn't fully get me there. And I kind of fell back into drinking a lot again. So again, I went, well, what's more extreme than ayahuasca? And I look up the most extreme psychedelic on earth, and it was iboga. And it is insane. It was the toughest 2 days of my 2 full days. But when I was done with that, the depression that I felt was completely gone. For a month or two afterwards, the world looked beautiful to me again. I saw opportunities and saw the beauty in things again. And around that time, I started getting more into meditation. And that's what really set me off over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I found the best hypnotherapist on earth who helped me through a lot of traumas. Between the meditation and the hypnotherapy over the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've kind of just completely become a new person. And like I'm up at like 5 in the morning now. I go to sleep at 9 or 10 only because my baby's in my bed with my wife, and I should sleep, I guess. And I do. I go and I put my head down and I fall right asleep, but I don't ever feel tired. I've been doing every single health thing you could possibly imagine. Like I'm in hyperbaric chambers every day. I meditate 2 to 4 hours a day. I self massage myself for like an hour.
Is
I
that like wanking?
uh, what's that?
So what are we when we saying self massage? Is that like what are we saying here?
Oh, I just started doing this in the last week or two. I'd be meditating and I would allow my body to just start doing whatever it wants. Because, in a meditative state, you're not really, controlling your body at that point. And what it ended up doing was like a 1 hour, like deep tissue shiatsu massage on every part of my body, my hands, without my mind being involved in it. So I could actually get the massage like I was receiving it and not giving it, even though it was giving it perfectly because it was my own body that was giving me the massage. It's incredible. I just
Okay.
finished doing another one just now. I'm going to do it every day, obviously. So the end of this, I guess, to give you like a chance to talk here, is that I've changed a ton, and I've also, as I meditate more, I've become more. It's become much clearer to me what this world is. Now, I don't know exactly what it is. I don't think anyone can. I don't think there's words to describe it, but it's become clear to me that it's in one way of looking at it, like a giant 3D video game that we created ourselves and put ourselves in to see what we would do and to experience and learn and all that kind of stuff. But it's basically not real. And then in the last few years, I started following Shunya Murti of Sat Yoga,
Yeah.
and it was just like click, 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 click. And I was like, I knew I was close to coming up with the answer, and he's like he's in it all the time. He knows it's a video game. He lives, but it's not just a video game. It's more complicated than that. But so that's kind of where I'm at now. So I used to kind of say, look at all this crap that's happening. This is terrible. They're destroying the world and all this kind of stuff. And now I just can laugh at it. I still do try to stop them because I think that's part of what I'm in the video game to do. But do I worry about it for 1 second ever? No, because of all this work I've done, I'm very clear that none of this is real. It's just an experience. And the more that I look at it and test it, I find that like this is like the Truman Show, and in real time, and the people running the show, which is me, because we're all one, because there's only one thing, one consciousness, is giving me tests and trials. And if I do really well, I level up, and then I get new beautiful things given to me, like little power-ups all over the place. And so now I'm just like, well, this is awesome. I'm just like, for the first time now in my life, I was mostly kind of depressed to some extent, definitely not happy my entire adult life. And now I'm completely happy. So I think that's what you're kind of trying to get me to get to, is how I've kind of reached this point.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you sharing, seeing that background, and yeah, I love the shout out to Sat Yoga. You and I've listened to that guy for years. I think he's really legit. And yeah, I love how you're just straight into it. Like you're about 5 layers down in the onion, as I call it, right? I think layer 1 is realizing that basically all the media and institutions are lying. Level 2 is that most people are evil psychos. Level 3 is kind of, for me, it's like a lot of it, dude, is consent based, and that's what I try to really get into in this podcast. Is people are trapped in this like truth or doom loop where, still like kind of post 9/11 shit where, the globalists are going to kill you and they're making the frogs gay. And you know what I mean? Where really it's like, dude, almost everything is of our consent. Like even COVID, there was a clip from Cuomo. He's like, yeah, we didn't have any authority to do that. We just did it and everyone followed. And that's honestly how I see everything playing out. Like, yeah, these people are evil, but dude, they always tell you how evil they are, and then everybody begs for it. So I really dig your vibe there, where it's like, yeah, I mean, we should still, you want to spread awareness, right? You like, these people are sick, but at the same time, it's like, everybody's still buying their porn, eating their toxic foods, begging to be a slave. And as long as the majority do that, it's up to us to just like carve a little niche out in the world, and live a badass life. So I really vibe that message, and I think the next layer is if you really start to go, within yourself, you start to really realize that the dreamlike quality, dude, of reality, and of manifestation. And so, I know you've done a lot of different interviews in the past, but maybe that would be a nice way for these trolls in my comment feed here. Anyway, why don't we talk about that? Like to you, like what is reality to you? What is existence? What is the world? How do you see the world? Like walk us through your lens and view of reality.
Well, I think pretty much my entire life, I've kind of suspected this is kind of like a Truman Show slash Matrix slash video game. A lot of the things I would do that a lot of people think are extreme, like breaking into Bilderberg and all that, is because that's how I see life. Like just a video game. So like I don't really have a lot of the fear that other people have. I'm not like, oh, what if I die? It's like, well, I go back to God consciousness. It's like the best thing ever. Like you can't actually lose. So I kind of live my life that way a lot, but I never really, in the last few years, and I think Sat Yoga really pushed me over the edge, because I was kind of putting this all together, and I'm like, I think I know what this is. But I had never heard anyone else really say what it is. And then all of a sudden, again, the universe, the creator of the video game drops in Sat Yoga right on my screen, right? And the very first video I watched, I was, who is this guy? And I watched a few more and I'm like, this is what I've been looking for. This guy knows. And I'm not saying he knows everything. I probably doesn't know everything. Not every, in this human form, you can't know everything in this human form. But he knew so much more than what I knew, and all the wisdom and the writings behind it, all the history of it, putting it together in a way that like made perfect sense to me. And I have to say, like I've been following other people, like I don't know, what's his name? I want to say Yoshi, but it's not that. There's a couple sort of guru type, Muji, yeah, and see, I don't really watch a lot of them anymore. I never followed Sadhguru, just so you know, because I got the bad vibes from him. I'm like, this guy, there's something wrong with him. And then I saw he's like a World Economic Forum guy, and he's super in favor of the World Economic Forum people depopulating the Earth. And I was like, I knew it. Like I knew this guy is not like a real sage, a real saint, a real guru would not fall for any of these things, right? So I'm watching Shunyamurti of Sat Yoga, and he knew exactly what the vaccine was. He knew exactly like all the stuff I talk about with the genocide and all this stuff. He knows it all. But basically his message is, yeah, this is Kali Yuga, and you have to do the work so that you get out of this level of basically hell realm that has been created by all these people that you just mentioned, like people like the trolls, hello trolls. You guys are creating this shitty reality. Like why? And all the status, they keep like voting and paying their taxes and watching their television programming. So they're giving their energy to this evil slavery system. And now you have like the evil slavery system so powerful, it's like blowing up everything on earth, and no one seems to even notice. Yeah. So I think like if I just looked at the world the way it was today, the way I see it, and I didn't have any of this other stuff like spirituality, meditation, belief about what this actually is, I don't know if I could handle it. like I can understand why people would get like super depressed or super scared, but I think they're creating it all with their own minds. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm still like so curious how this all works, but I think, by them not doing the right thing in their lives numerous times and selling their soul over and over and over. And selling your soul is doing something that you don't believe is a good thing, or something that you think is right that you would do, but you do it for money. And most people do that in various forms, in their jobs even. Like that's if you work at a bank, you probably know it's not like the greatest system, but you take the paycheck, you don't even enjoy working there, but you sell your soul. And so they've kind of gone down this path, like so many people in the video game. And they're also full of fear because they don't have any of that spiritual meditative sort of side. They've been told that we're just on a rock, and it all started with an explosion called the Big Bang. And we've got some scientists, and everyone should hopefully be figuring out a lot of the scientists now. It's not exactly science, but yeah, it was exactly 6.8 billion years ago. Yeah, I could tell. You kind of just see like where the first it's total BS,
dude, just on that, recently they just doubled the universe. I don't know if you saw that. Like, they said the universe was 14 billion, and then all of a sudden they're like, actually we think it's 28. Like, just like, what the fuck?
Well, what's the difference at that point anyway? But yeah, so your average person actually believes that. Yeah. And then they, go to their 12 years of government indoctrination camps, get put under like a massive spell that will take most of them the rest of their lives to even like get halfway out from under it. And they tell them, yeah, you're on a rock, you're spinning through space, even though there's not even any proof of that at all. You're going at 66,600 miles an hour. It's just a coincidence. And the Earth's tilted at 33 degrees, like the Freemasons say, just coincidence. Like there is no tilt. There's no up or down in a complete universe. But anyway, it's all so dumb, but they believe it all. And so they just think they're on a rock. They came from an explosion. They used to be rats and mice and monkeys, but now they're this, and there's no point to them being here. And the world's turning out how it is because they keep falling because they're under mind control. Just keep using the government currency, keep giving the money, giving the government their energy, and it creates like crazy, horrible things. Dude, yeah, I forget what the question was, but
no, you're good. You're good. That's exactly it, and that's why I called the show the Spellbreakers. Is I literally think the controllers are just like, literally like 12 sorcerers somewhere in like the fourth dimension who are like fucking with us. They're just like scheming.
Well, yeah, I looked at all, like, how is this possible? Like that it's so well designed and so strategic, and they seem to have everything controlled to various degrees, and the amount of people involved, and like how smart are these people? And the more that I look at it, I'm like, this is not just your regular humans doing this. I don't know if they do like super black magic. Maybe they put the whole spell, because you can basically manifest anything you want. Maybe they did that to create this world, and because enough people didn't do their own version to make a better world, we're kind of just like stuck in it a little bit. But then with my understanding of life now, I'm actually in paradise right now, and I always am, and I always will be, and I actually am, no matter what they do. And so, yeah. And it's not even real. And yeah, I think that was your original question. What is real? That's a tough question. You don't ask any easy questions. This isn't CNN with Joe Biden with the questions beforehand. What is real? It's actually super simple, in my opinion. And that is the consciousness, the creator of everything, including you, me, the trees, the earth, whatever. Even Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci created them all in its own mind, which is so unbelievably intelligent and creative, and it can make like 8 billion storylines at the same time and make them all like intersect. Like I'm amazed. Like, I haven't watched movies in decades, and I haven't played video games in more than decades, and the reason is that I look at life as being like the movie we're actually in, or the video game we're actually in, and it's amazing, and it's like way better than 4K. It's got smells, it's got pains, you can feel pain, you can feel pleasure. And people are like, oh, I'm going to go watch a movie. It's like, you're in the movie. Why are you going to go watch you're the star, and you're just going to just watch a movie in the movie? Like, you can do anything.
Dude, I hear you, man. Like, so as a kid, I was into lucid dreaming, right? And I've been getting back into it. And part of it is doing like reality checks throughout the day, you know? But then if you actually do a reality check of this world, you're like, oh, it's like run by a gang of interdimensional pedophiles who are like trying to kill everybody, but everybody likes it. And we're like, cutting off kids' genitals and, because of bravery and, and people who openly say they want like half the humans on the planet are like pushing vaccines and getting Nobel prizes and stuff. You're like, dude, how is this not the dream? And yeah, in terms of, manifestation, I experience it all the time. Like, you get into low vibe states, and a lot of that's trauma, unresolved trauma. And you talk about that a lot, which is key to heal your traumas wherever they are, because it's just energy blockages, right? But if you're in low vibe state, it's amazing. Like, I'll see like deals fall through and things in front of me happen, and people randomly call and get pissed. And then if I'm high vibe, it's just like, dude, it's like a magnet. It's like people come to you, the world conspires to just make your dominant vibe happen, whether that's good or bad, and even all this evil, truther shit, dude. I'm starting to get skeptical too. Like, I'm skeptical of everything, right? Because like, we'll just call them the injections for YouTube, but as much as I think that was a Depop situation. I'm seeing people getting like 6, 7 boosters, and like, dude, they're totally fine. Like, they're having kids, they're happy, they're crushing it too. And I'm just like, dude, maybe it's all in our head. Like, maybe they want the truthers to be like, oh, you're gonna die, so that, because it seems like they're always just throwing shit out there to see what sticks, right? Like, the news is just like casting spells. It's like, do you think there's gonna be civil war? Like, COVID, flu, bird flu, monkeypox, like just constant, right? And then whatever clicks in a dominant percentage of the people, then they take forward, like that's how I see it going. So yeah, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that. Like, maybe we even have a wrong idea about who the bad guys and the good guys are to some extent, or I don't know, maybe it's just a big joke. Maybe they're there to just like actually get us to wake up, to be so like like Klaus Schwab is literally a Bond villain, dude. Like, you can't tell me that that's not an actual script that somebody wrote, so help us like pull this apart, Jeff.
I know. And they have Bill Gates, who's like a computer nerd, and he makes a computer virus so that he could sell an antivirus software, and then he gets billions of dollars, and he starts making up new fake viruses so that he can sell his antivirus software called vaccines. Like, this is like, if you made this, what's happening, into a movie or a book, no one would see it or read it. They'd be like, it's too stupid. Well, what happened in the book? Well, there's a Bond villain guy, and he's German accent. They always got the German accent. He's got the black evil coat on, and he's trying to make everyone eat bugs and put them in like concentration camps. And then you got the billionaire computer nerd, and he's trying to poison everyone. He's also trying to cut down all the trees and block out the sun to kill everyone because he got hit with a pie in the 1980s. And so, yeah, and you'd be like, well, that's okay. It sounds crazy. So then what happens? It's like, well, then he comes out and they say they have a virus. There's absolutely nothing. And they just put it on the television programming, which he buys them all out. And then they offer them donuts or French fries, and almost everyone on Earth injects themselves with poison. It's like, this is stupid. Like, this would never happen. It's like, it just happened. Yeah. It's incredible. Like, we are in the best movie. It's the best video game ever. Like, whenever I see anyone playing a video game, I'm like, what are you doing? You're in the best video game. The video game, basically, you can call it apocalypse at this point. This is the part of the apocalypse. And it's different for everyone. Someone might be in like total heaven this entire experience. But I'm personally at the moment in the apocalypse part, which is like the craziest part of the video game, where everything gets like insane. You can't even believe it. And then people are like, well, I'm going to play a video game. It's like, why? It's like, I'm bored. It's like, bored. How are you bored? This is like the best video game ever. And you're playing video games in the video game. Yeah, like, I've thought a lot about like what's actually going on, and you look at like people like Bill Gates and George Soros and Klaus Schwab and the Rothschilds and all these people, and yeah, it has to be a video game, and they are just like the craziest bad characters, right? So when you see it that way, like I don't like people go, I hate the George Soros. It's like I don't hate anybody. It's just a video game. But I know people like if you haven't done the process to get to where I'm at, this what I'm saying might sound totally crazy, but you can actually logically almost get there. Just sit down and think, what is going on? And you'll pretty quickly, I did a lot of this just with my own mind. Like, okay, so we're in a universe, but it never ends. It's like, that's not even really possible with my human brain. Like, it just goes on forever. Like, you go like trillion light years, still going. There's still stuff there. It's like, okay, so we're in that, but we're on this little ball and we're spinning through space, which I don't necessarily believe because that's all from NASA who faked the moon landing. So I'm like, okay. And when you really get down to it, it's like this can't be what we think it is. That's for sure. Uh, and then you really the further you go, it's like, well, this like, and you even think about things like dreaming. And I think you've already brought up dreams once or twice. And it's like, well, what happens in a dream? Because that seems a lot of the time completely real, just as real as this. Maybe I don't necessarily sit down and write a whole book in the dream, but when I'm in the dream, it seems like this.
Yeah.
So what's that? Is that real? One of them's not real. And I would actually just say neither are real. But what is it? It's all just the consciousness of the video game creator creating all this, because why not? You can do anything. You can create anything. Like, you'll never get bored with the sort of power the video game creator has. And if it, you make this world like a sim world, right? And yeah, everyone all like kills each other and does like stuff that is stupid. You just like flood it. It's like,
dude, yeah.
Let's see what they do now. And then you also, as the creator, get to see it all through everyone's own eyes and ears and feelings, all at the same time. Like, it's beyond. You can't even fathom how incredible this is. And what are a lot of people in the West doing today? They're miserable, they're depressed, they're sitting in their apartment, they're on their phones, they're watching their news. It's like they have completely lost touch with what even life is or nature, and then go beyond that to what is reality. And yeah, so it's wild. Like, I love it. Like, like I'm sure some people might say something like, yeah, Jeff, you say you think it's a video game, but if a couple of guys came in with guns and they're like torturing you, you'd scream. It's like, yeah, I might scream if that happened. Definitely, I feel pain. But I also know, like, even when I am feeling pain, I can like look at it. I don't have to be in it. I'm basically pretty close to meditating most of the time now. So I'm outside of my mind. So I'd be mostly like watching it. But yeah, sure, if they were really torturing me, but I don't think that's going to happen. And the reason is because I don't think about it or worry about it. You actually create those things. And that's what you were saying earlier. Like, this is way more than what people think. Like, when I'm saying, be careful what you say, be careful what you think about, because you actually create it. I think most people can't even fathom that they actually are creating it. This is like, none of this, again, if you think about it logically, like, what is touch? What is vision? When you think about it, even just in biological terms, it's signals or energy or frequencies that your body is interpreting. So it's not actually really real. It's these frequencies or energy or information that your body is creating, your mind is creating into something that you see as real, but that's not actually there. Your eyes made that, computed it, and put it on the screen for you, but it's all kind of just like in the Matrix. It's all just information. So yeah.
Yeah, dude.
That's where I'm at. So I've basically just been like discovering all this stuff over the last few years and just talking about it as I walk with my dogs. And that's basically where I'm at. I'm totally open to being wrong on anything and everything. I'm sure I am wrong on a lot of stuff. And I'm excited to know if I am, because the number one thing I want is the truth. and I want to know what's really going on. But in the meantime, I'm just having a great time. Whereas most of my life, I was just depressed and drinking and like most people. But now I've managed to get out of that and actually get myself so I can watch the game while I play the game, but I don't think I'm in the game.
Yeah, man. Dude, I love it. Just such good vibes. And it's so true. I honestly think the truth movement is an op in itself now. Yeah, there's a lot of controlled opposition people, and also it's really sad to see people you rolled with in like the 2010s, like going to Mar-a-Lago and stroking Roger Stone and shit. So mad respect that you kept legit. I won't say any names, but it's just sad to see, to be honest. But yeah, like, dude, just the miraculous nature of the reality we're in. I just wish that people could at least open themselves up to that a little bit, especially those who are focused on the doom and gloom, because it's a trap, man. If you just focus on the evil and negative, dude, that's where they want you. They want you to think you're helpless and that they're all powerful, just, if you just look at the world leaders today, they are the weakest, softest, most corrupt, degenerate pussies in the history of humanity. Like, these people we're worried about. Like, I'm in Canada, right? Like, I'm worried about Justin Trudeau. Like, he's my biggest problem. Like, he's actually a threat to me. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, this is satanic shit they're doing. Like, I don't want to minimalize that, but you see what I'm saying? Like our actual enemies are the most degenerate, sick, weak weasels ever. It's not like Joseph Stalin, man. That guy had balls. Like, I'm not pro Stalin, but I'm just saying, like, that dude was a fucking gangster. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, now it's like,
I'm not pro Stalin, but he's got balls. I like that.
You know what I mean? Like, he got shit done. You know what I mean? And anyways, yeah. Point is, like, I honestly think it's just a dream, man. And the fractal nature of reality, like, dude, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll just have dreams like I had like a wife. I was like on a different planet. Like, I felt like I lived an entire life, and I'm just casually like back into this reality. Like what the hell's going on there? You know what I mean? Like, I honestly do think that we are infinite beings, and this is a big like cosmic joke. And yeah, like, I don't want to diminish suffering. Like, my life is really awesome, but. And I know people suffer, and I don't want to diminish that, but I think it's largely the case that this is like a shared dream, and that based off our consciousness and level of awareness, we have different things come in. Yeah, man, I could talk for hours on that, but I would be really curious to just kind of get your insights, I guess, on solutions, generally speaking. Like, you've been taking a lot more of a spiritual turn, which I really appreciate. But I think a lot of people, especially now, are struggling like financially and stuff too. So, and I know you preach, spiritual, physical health, also financial abundance. And I think a lot of people in the truther community really struggle with the financial part. So yeah, maybe just broadly, you can walk people through, where you see what people can do, what some of the solutions are, how to bring abundance into people's lives, especially those who are still really trapped in this kind of fear-based mindset.
Yeah. Well, I think there's really only one solution, and that is to do the work on yourself to reach a level similar to where I'm at right now. There's nothing else to do, actually. Because as we just talked about, you are creating your own reality. So if you haven't fixed a lot of your traumas and done the work and meditated a lot, like every day, to like really get deep and really see what's in there, you will just constantly create sort of like a sort of a hell realm for yourself. So that there's only really one solution. Now, a lot of people might say, yeah, but Jeff, I work like 12 hours a day. I don't have time for this. Yes, you do. It's the only thing that's important. You should actually just quit your job and do this. That would be the rational thing to do if you know what's going on. Because once you get through doing all this stuff, no matter what you do, everything will be much better. You'll actually create a much better world. So there's only one solution. and it's doing that work. So this is what I've kind of came upon, especially doing like a Narcopoco, which for many years was a lot of people talking about, here's the stats on how bad government is. Here's how many people they impoverish. Here's why their regulations destroy people. They don't help people, which is great. It's good to have that knowledge. But it kind of reached a point again where I was like, yeah, but there's much more to this than that. It's doing the work on yourself. And I think it was Gandhi who had that quote, be the change you want to see in the world. I think that was him. And I'm not saying Gandhi was perfect. No one's perfect. But
he's a perv, apparently.
Yeah, I've heard that. Who knows? Yeah. We weren't like, none of this is even real. This is all this like, but I love the line, be the change you want to see in the world. That's the only way. So a lot of people, like I see a lot of them because, I have the Dollar Vigilante newsletter, I've got an Narcopoco, and a lot of people will message me or put a comment, and it's like, I'm so angry or so upset or so worried about the world. It's like, well, change it. Like, you have that power. It's like, yeah, that's crazy talk. What, just sit there by myself for a little while and I'll change the world? It's like, yes, yes, do it. And then they'll be like, well, I can't. And I'll be like, why? And they'll say, well, my mind won't shut up. It's like, that's why you got to do it. Your mind's going crazy. You're creating this crazy world. You are doing it. So in one way or another, you are doing it. So there's only one solution, and that is to do the work on yourself. And it can take a while. For me personally, it's probably been 5 to 10 years of work. But my hypnotherapist said he's never seen anyone worse than me as far as like being in a deeper hole with all my traumas and stuff. But somehow I got out of all of it. So if I can, according to him, you can, because he's never seen anyone who was as bad as me as far as trauma was concerned. Yeah, just, it might take a couple years. I bet it doesn't take most people 5 or 10 years. I was like a really bad case. And I kind of took my time on it too. I didn't even really realize until the last few years just how important, how incredible this stuff is. I was just doing it because I sensed it was leading me somewhere. I could just tell this is where I should be going. So I just kept going. But you could probably even get there. Some people could probably get there in like a few months, like younger people, especially if they didn't have too much trauma. They can probably get there in a few months and begin manifesting their own reality, begin seeing it all for what it is. So yeah, there's only one solution. There's no, maybe we should vote or, maybe a revolution or a coup. No, the whole reason you just pointed out, like, these are the biggest losers in the world. Prince Charles or King Sausage Fingers, Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, Yuval Harari. Like, if these people were all in a room with me, like, I'd just walk around and they would like shuffle out of the way, scared to death of someone who's actually like a real person. But because of that and their fear, and this is what I actually believe, I believe they're creating most of this stuff with their own fear and traumas. So I've actually been talking about this fairly recently, that I want to try to get through to them just for fun in this video game to see if I can like fix the whole game and make it like paradise again, like Sat Yuga or something. If I sat down with Bill Gates or Yuval Harari or numerous other those types, George Soros, within a couple of hours, I think I could get them pretty close to out of a lot of their stuff in their head that is making them do all this stuff because of fear. It's mostly of fear. And because they're full of fear, they have no love, because love and fear are basically the opposites. So they have zero love and all fear. Like, I could probably get them down to like 70%, and Bill Gates might be like, you know what? I'm not going to try to block out the sun. It's like, thank you, Bill. We should hang out again sometime. It's like, yeah, I started to realize maybe I should just go for a walk on the beach and get some sun and feel good and maybe get a decent looking girlfriend since I'm a billionaire.
Sleep with an adult.
Like, yeah, Bill, that's what I was telling you. Just, those sort of things. You're focused on the wrong stuff, Bill. You've gone a little bit too far, Bill. It's like, I get it. You got hit with the pies. I get it. You were traumatized massively as a child. You're probably massively abused and raped and mind controlled and traumatized. Yeah. And Oh my God, I can't even imagine, Bill. Like, I'm so sorry. Seriously, can you imagine a baby being traumatized? Like, what you would think of that? That was Bill.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
he turned into this because of that. And but now it's getting to the point, like, if we want to keep this video game going, we have to kind of stop him
Yeah.
because he just lost it. He's just like doing everything possible to kill everything, not only everything, everyone, but everything on Earth, the trees, the insects. He just wants it all gone. Like someone needs to do an intervention with Bill Gates.
Dude, I for sure, and just laughing because I got in on your comments on Twitter the other day. You were like, the intro to my podcast, I used Yuval Harari talking about humans being hackable animals, right? And I loved how you're just like tweeting on him. You're like, bro, you gotta heal, man. And I think that would be hilarious if instead of us just like calling these people, the devil incarnate. And don't get me wrong, they're evil, but we all have the capacity for savage evil within us. And so that's something people need to realize. And, and it's what consciousness do put your energy into, like we can all be evil, manipulative fucks, right? But yeah, what if we just all,
I don't think I can, but I don't think I can, but the reason is because I've dealt with like all my traumas. If you went through everything that Satan Claus and not only his, but like his family's, like these bloodlines of trauma, and fear and all this kind of stuff, they kind of, if you went through all that, you'd do probably the exact same thing. So I have like no hate for them. I've kind of reached this point too, because definitely a few years ago, I was kind of like, we got to kill all these people. Like it's the only way to stop them. And now I've reached the point. It's like, no, we got to help them. They've been so destroyed. They're in so much fear. That's why they're doing these things. And of course, you get into like, just how screwed up they've become because of it, like massively psychopathic. But I think if anyone would even just show them a little love, like just like, I understand, man. Like,
Yeah.
Bill, seriously, man. Like, I know a great hypnotherapist. Let's just work on it. Get some of that out, man. You must be just, none of them are happy. You can tell. You just look at them. They're all miserable. Look at Yuval Harari. Like his hair is falling out and he's like all pale. It's like, Yuval, like, come on, man. Like, I've actually put this out there. Like, if anyone can get this through to them, I'll go and meet with them for a few hours. And I won't fix them 100% in a couple hours, but I can probably get them way down from where they're at. And so they can start working to get the rest of their traumas out so they stop doing all this stuff. But, like, I've heard that saying, like people say a lot, like hate or love, not hate sort of a thing, right? Like the answer, and I've heard a lot of sort of hippie types say, it's, you can't use violence to, stop, evil people sort of thing. And I've come to realize that I think we can cure it with love. I think that's the only way. There is no other way. That's why when people get like really crazy, other people get like really crazy in response and they start killing each other. They're both going down the wrong path. There's only one way out. If you want to save this version of the video game, which there's not really much point to doing it unless that's, you're like, I think I came in this video game to like win this and like, try to fix the whole game and try to repair like all these psychopaths and Satanists and, demonically possessed things and whatever it is. And if that's what you think, but you don't have to do any of that. It's all just a video game. But, I do ask myself every day almost lately, why do I do what I do if I believe what I believe? And I would say part of it is that I don't fully understand it completely yet. Not even close. I'm just scratching the surface. And, I don't want to like just totally go full Buddha and just sit all day, every day, because I have a feeling I came in this game to do something. And I'm not totally sure what it is, but I have a pretty good idea. And when you think about it, why would you go in a game not to like basically try to win the game? You'd give yourself all these obstacles and, it just doesn't make sense to me. So for the time being, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to see if I can like basically save the world, but like in a way that's like just like sitting down with Bill Gates and letting him cry on my shoulder for a bit. Like no one's touched him for like his whole life.
Yeah.
And he won't let people touch them because he's got so much fear there. And he needs some love. He needs like someone to hug him and just tell him it's going to be okay at this point. So that's
So
what I'm
true,
trying
man.
now, and we'll see what happens.
Dude, so true. Yeah, we need to have that like Goodwill Hunting Robin Williams. Like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Because, dude, it's so true. I mean, look at the pattern here. And I get there's people in the comments freaking out, like, you got to call out evil, pedos, all this. I get it. And I get the hatred. But, guys, just think this through, right? These people are growing up in elite, highly traumatized, evil societies. Trauma is generational, right? So these guys from a young age are being groomed, beaten, abused, and they do it intentionally to actually give them high IQs, right? If you actually traumatize children, it's CIA mind control, guys. MK Ultra. They figured this out. That if you abuse children, they fragment their minds. They are mind control slaves, and they have high levels of IQ and shit, right? So then they're traumatized, and to heal their trauma, they think becoming narcissist leaders where people worship and admonish them will save them, right? Because they actually think they're nothing. So they get into these positions of power and control because of that trauma within them. And then us collectively, because we're traumatized, we don't become, sovereign beings. We look to these leaders to save us, right? And that's what keeps the whole world going. The majority of people haven't healed their trauma, they're in fear, so they're looking to leaders who are psychos, right? And so it's like something has to break in this, and just taking out, a bunch of psycho leaders, it's not gonna solve it, right? It literally is a consciousness thing, right?
Yeah, and people are creating it with their own mind. so that's the thing that I've come to is that like you brought up earlier that Justin Castro is like making your life terrible or whatever. It doesn't have to be that way. For example, I'm from Canada. I just left. I don't give them any of my money. I set up my life in a way to like never be robbed from them, never be under any of their stuff. But even if I was, you know, you, it's more of an illusion than something that's real. I would not let any of that get to me unless it was in my face, right? So if like some government people came here to my door, I'd have to deal with it then. But uh, like I don't worry about it at all anymore. And the less that people attach themselves to it, like they actually think about it, it's like, oh, this guy's, got me enslaved and all that kind of stuff. I think it keeps them from like doing the work on themselves so that they can change the game. And you can change the game unbelievably. I'll give you one example that I was thinking about today. So I kind of had this thought that I want to try to do everything like perfect, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I want to like find like be the best I can be in every single aspect. And so I was like, okay, well, I have to change my diet dramatically. I have to do all these exercises and stuff for the physical part. And I was like, but I don't know how I can change things that dramatically because, there's limitations to what you can do, right? And so, but I had the intention and I focused on it. I meditated on it. You could say I kind of prayed on it a little bit, even though I would never go, God, can you, make me perfect physically? I always just ask for more information, is basically, and then I listen. But then, so I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I can become like perfect in every way, so that I can like become the perfect character in the video game, so I can be the most virtuous, most aligned, and help the entire world, sort of thing, while I'm in the video game. And out of the blue, a Tesla healing machine basically falls into my lap like 2 months ago that heals everything and like can make you actually incredible stuff. I'm still discovering all the stuff it can do. So I made this intention that I wanted to get like perfect physically, but I was like, yeah, but my joints, like I don't even know if you could fix those at this age, sort of thing. And all of a sudden, Tesla healing machine basically comes into my reality because that's what I wanted. So don't focus on like the problems and how bad things are. Work on yourself and everything will change around you. Your physical reality, the world itself will change. It will manifest and give you things that you didn't think existed. Um, that's just one example of what I'm starting to discover. So, yeah, I've really just reached the point like I don't worry about anything. I know it's all a perfect script. I'm not 100% sure if we have free will or not at this point. I'm still like
Mm,
thinking about that. It sure seems like I do, but maybe I'm just watching as the video game or movie plays out. These are some of the things I'm thinking about. But
right.
as far as worrying about the world, not at all, unless it's on my doorstep, right? Like if there's uh, like a wildfire that's closing in on my house, I'll pay attention to it and make sure that the things that I want to be safe are safe and stuff like that. But as far as they're going to pass a new law, I don't care. I don't listen to any of their laws, and I understand that sometimes you can't get around some of their laws, but I would suggest you actually can. I
Yeah, for
do
sure.
most of the time. Um, you just have to make the effort. Like people might say, well, yeah, but Jeff, I can't buy like groceries and they're going to take the sales tax there in Canada off it, the goods and services tax. Like they're giving you some services and it's like, yeah, you can just go to the local farmer and work out a deal and, buy in Monero. Yeah, but Jeff, he doesn't know what Monero is. Yeah, you have to go and do it. If you want to be free, you have to do some work. But yeah, that's kind of the way I look at things now. And I started wanting to help, you know, the world basically, help people to wake up to everything going on. But there's no real waking up that needs to be done except for the waking up to what they really are. And most people are nowhere near close enough to even thinking about that. They're just too in the fear, in the survival mindset. They're under mind control. They're fluoridated. They're chemtrailed. So I just don't even worry about them. I just try to stay out of their way. I pay attention to what they do. It's like, okay, they're going to do World War III. Where's probably a place that'll be more safe than other places? Probably Latin America. So I'm here. But aside from that, I just don't even really worry about it. And if I didn't have my family, if it was just me, I wouldn't worry about a thing.
Yeah.
I would just be having fun with this video game. But I still don't know how it all works. And I have this family that I love. So I make sure I pay attention to stuff for them, make sure they're good, they're safe, until I can like have more confidence that I think I just came to the answer. What I need is more faith. I don't have enough faith yet, but I think I'm getting closer to having more and more faith the more I can see that I think this is what it really is.
Mm. Dude, really well said. Yeah, I totally agree, man. And like, I hear your message about LatAm. Like I'm still in Canada, right? And I see where Canada's going, and I think as a country, it's going. We know where it's going. You know what I mean. But having said that, like where I live off grid on a beautiful piece of land. Like, dude, every day I'm like kayaking. I'm like dirt biking. All our friends are like growing food, super based, have like thousands of acres. You know, my life every day is like so boss. You know, so I'm like, I, I don't know whether to leave. Like, we fell in love with Argentina. We want to get a little place down there, or Ecuador, or Uruguay. I heard Doug Casey, talk a lot about Uruguay. But I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like where I'm at now, it's good. I think if things get hard, I know everybody around me. I trust them. We're all growing food. We're a good community. So it's tough. Like I don't think there's a one size fit all, but I think broadly speaking, people need to get out of the cities. I think people need to have at least resources in other countries, right? Multiple passports, at least a bank account, some resources. But like, do you think people should like necessarily flood out of the West? Like because they are bringing down the West. But for me, I think that could actually open up a lot of opportunities. But yeah, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that because I'm struggling with that in my own life, and I know other people are as well.
Yeah, it's something I hear a lot. And that's some of the stuff we do at Dollar Vigilante is help people to get a community to see what's going on. We do expat interviews every month in our newsletter. If people want to check it out, dollarvigilante.com/subscribe. Um, so yeah, like a lot of people, and at Narcapoco every year, we see so many people come down, and a lot of them just stay. Here's what the way to look at it. It sounds like you're in a very good spot right now, personally. It sounds pretty much like paradise. As long as you're okay with working around the theft and extortion of the taxation, um, or even just paying it, like if you're okay with that, even though knowing what it funds, that's your own choice. They Canada's been pretty crazy with especially the lethal injections and the COVIDs, like locking things down.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're okay with just, dealing with that as it gets probably worse, and possibly even them trying to force inject people, although I don't know if they'll be able to really do that. But we'll see. I think they're gonna, well, I got a lot of ideas on that, but
Yeah.
um, the one other thing that I would just be concerned about, and you said it right, by the way. Like if you said you lived in any city anywhere, basically on Earth, I'd be like, you probably shouldn't, because when all this stuff happens that I expect is going to happen, like it's going to be pretty crazy. You want to be away from population centers, so you've got that part. The one sort of there's a couple of questions, and that is about things like chemtrails and directed energy weapons. If they're doing that in your area, you have to make a decision if you want to be poisoned regularly, or if you can figure out how to not be poisoned, like detox stuff, maybe like aluminum collectors. I don't even know, but those would be choices you have. They seem to want to burn a lot of people out of the countryside in Canada lately with their weapons to get them into the smart cities. If you think you got a blue roof, like make a roof blue. But what's probably number one is just follow your gut and your intuition and what you feel you should do.
Yeah.
For example, Max Egan was in Australia, and he just had a super big intuition that he had to get out. He didn't even know why. And he got out, and a couple days later,
Yeah.
they made it so he couldn't have left. And he found out they're going to set him up as like a fall guy for like a shooting sort of a thing. He got out just in time because he followed his intuition. And so again, do the work on yourself. Do some meditation. Connect more with the source, and you'll actually get like messages and things put into your reality, like this is all made for you. It's like the Truman Show as well, but mixed with like Matrix. It's
Yeah,
the
dude.
craziest. It's got to be one of the craziest video games ever created. But just follow your intuition, and so you feel right now like you're okay there. Okay, if you feel tomorrow like I don't know, I just got this feeling I got to go to Argentina, then go to Argentina. That's
Yeah.
basically all there is to it if you get connected. But most people aren't very connected and they don't listen, and they don't pay attention. And that's why I'm saying the only thing to do always is the work on yourself, the meditation, get yourself good, your temple perfect, so it's running perfectly, so you can connect with all the energy and the plasma of the. It's incredible all this stuff. And then everything will work out okay. But anything else is a waste of time until you reach that point. And then you can start manifesting whatever you want after you reach that level.
Dude, yeah, I love it. I think it's great advice, and yeah, I don't think there's a one size fits all. And I do get kind of frustrated with people who think the only answer is to just everyone flee their countries. I think there's a certain, like, we also in Canada, we have the most resources in the world, and like we're the most stacked country. We could have a paradise here, and we need people who aren't, who actually have balls to stand up, and eventually Canada could be an oasis as well. You know what I mean. So I think what Jeff said that really hits the nail on the head is that you have to listen to your intuition, and guys, you have to cultivate that. It's real. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you can be more still and more present and just have a period of silence, how many people can, even if you want to know how awake you really are, how long can you literally just be in silence, content? Like can you just be 2 minutes in a room breathing without your phone? You know, can you do it for 5 minutes? Can you do it for 10 minutes? The longer you do that, you start to get intuition, and so I really appreciate that. I mean, having said that, though, I want to have more of a backup plan, and I want to move my business abroad, like do a low tax. Like I have a corporation, so yeah, maybe I could get your advice off that offline or something. But yeah, man, I love it. I want to be respectful of your time. I know we got to wrap things up here. Would love to have you on again. But yeah, Jeff, maybe if you want to just give some closing remarks for this interview and let people know where they can find you, man.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Well, if you want to do like the work I've been talking about, I've worked with like six other coaches, actually more than that, to create a 3-day course called the Game Changers. You can go to dollarvigilante.com/GC. I recommend that if you're like curious about what I've been talking about, what kind of work you need to do. That's basically the starting point for most of it. Then if you are interested in the financial stuff, we have the Dollar Vigilante newsletter, which we recommend a Bitcoin at $3, Ethereum at $2. So we do quite well a lot of the times. You can check that out at dollarvigilante.com. We also have tons of our videos plus other videos of great people, and I'm going to include the spell breakers on that with your permission, of course.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we'll put that on vigilante.tv. And oh yeah, and then we have an Acapulco every year. So if some of this stuff interests you, and especially if you're like, thinking along the same lines that, maybe you want to get out of Canada, but you want to see what life's kind of like. You want to see what other people are doing. The best place for that is in Acapulco. It's coming up in February 2025, our 11th year. You can go check that out. And yeah, it's mostly all people sort of like having conversations like this exact conversation. That's the whole, everyone there talks about this stuff. And a lot of them have moved out of their, the areas they're from, because a lot of them are from the West and they kind of see where it's going. But some of them stayed. For example, in Canada, Curtis Stone, he's doing his own completely self-sufficient ranch, basically growing all his own food, all that kind of stuff. And he's pretty comfortable staying up there. And yeah, like I said, I think if you're outside of the major cities, I think you're going to be okay. Because even if they do the World War III, and even if they kind of like nuke a few cities, which I think they probably will, it won't really necessarily be nukes, but it'd be, something that looks and does the destruction of a nuke, some sort of a laser type stuff or frequency stuff. They're not going to do that in the countryside, I don't think. So just get out of the cities. I think most people can kind of already see it's it's just getting so much worse. I know Canada quite well, even though I haven't been there in like years. But I see like where it's headed with all the multiculturalism and immigration stuff, and bringing in millions of people from all over the world, and the homelessness and the drug addiction and the poverty. Most people can't even afford to live. If you're in a city there and all these LGBTQ2IA plus sort of angry trannies around, and you call them a man, and it's like they'll beat you up. It's like, just get out of those places,
Yeah.
and just get into the countryside. And again, and like what you said, get to really know all the people around you. That's really important. And get on the same page. If they don't understand what's going on, slowly get them to understand. And that's all part of actually being able to communicate, which actually we have in the Game Changers as well, social stuff, being able to communicate to people so that you can get them slowly to understand, and then basically get them to the point where you say, okay, if they come around and they're going to force inject everyone with some mystery substance, we're all going to be on the same Telegram group or whatever. The first place that they're doing that to, we all go there with our shotguns because we're all farmers. And we just tell them they can't do that here. That sort of a thing. So you're going to have to build community around you, get outside of major population centers, make sure you got supplies. Of course you do there. I think you're on a bison farm, which is awesome. Like fresh bison every day. Like that's like good stuff. And, that sort of stuff. So it sounds like you're doing most of it, and you're also aware of everything going on. So, and you're also doing the kind of work where you get intuition and stuff like that. So you should be completely fine. And it's all just a video game. So it's always going to be just laid out perfectly to give you the most incredible experience ever. It'll give you tons of fear and tons of uh, love and all kinds of stuff. And there'll be things that'll just like turn out horribly, and then you'll have to build yourself back up into something even better, and then you do something else. It's basically all made for you. There's nothing at all to ever worry about. And even if you die in the video game, you go back to being God consciousness. It's like the best thing that you could ever imagine. You can't even describe it. So there's literally nothing to worry about.
Dude, hell yeah. I know this, and I love what you say. This is the best apocalypse ever, man. Like this year, like I'm getting married, I'm having a kid, I'm like the strongest I've ever been. I'm building community. I'm meeting all these awesome people. Like we're building like parallel economies out here. Like it's fun. It's awesome. So yeah, to just tie off what Jeff was saying there, guys, you got to think for yourself what is your ideal life and move towards it and visualize it. Maybe that is chilling in Mexico. Maybe that is living how I live in the middle of nowhere on a bison ranch. But most people, you would be better off quitting your shitty jobs, starting a better life. So just think it through. But yeah, all right, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. Guys, please support him with all he's doing. And yeah, check out the Game Changers. I want to do that as well. It sounds like really great. So thank everybody's on the stream, even the haters. And yeah, I'm going to close it down and I'll say my goodbyes offline to Jeff. Thanks,
All
guys.
right. Peace.